I've fallen for the hype, and I want to see if it's justified. Maybe just because this is the new expensive shiny, I might be overreacting a little bit with this next sentence, but to my ears, this sounds like what I wish I could get out of my amp mic'd up. What's up, YouTube? I'm back, and I haven't been gone for long because it's a new gear day. Actually, it's 2 new gear days. First one is actually I picked up my Schecter that I just recently purchased from my luthier, and if you recall in the videos previously, I was not the biggest fan of the neck pickup. I thought it was a little bit dark and a little bit too muted for the style of music that I wanted to play, and I wanted something a little bit brighter and more articulate, similar to what I've got in my Charvel. Well, I ended up going with the Mark Holcomb Alpha and Omega set, and the reason I went with this set was because I wanted to make sure that the sound matched, not just a good neck pickup that then might throw the bridge pickup out of balance. I wanted to have just the full matching set, and I have not heard it yet. The guys in the guitar shop, they said it's the loudest, meanest guitar that they have had in that shop. Now, granted, this is a kind of a small mom and pop shop, and they have a lot of like mandolins and acoustics and lots of accordions. It's a really cool place to be. But they do some really, really good work, and I trusted these guys, highly recommended in the Birmingham musicians group. So I've got that back, and I've got a new piece of gear, and I thought I would do this unboxing, and so it wouldn't be like one of these fake unboxings where you cut and pretend like you're hearing it for the first time. I ain't about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this thing up. We're gonna see what is in there. I don't have a cool knife or anything like that to open it up with. I got good old Fiskars. And only told one other person that I was getting this. He said I'll probably send it back. It's not what I'm looking for. But if you've been following my channel for long, you know that focus here. Yeah, there we go. You know that I used to have a Stereotone 68 Super Lead clone, and I had Kurt Granger do some mods to it, and I absolutely loved the amp. and I gigged with it maybe 2 or 3 times, and it was hands down the just raddest rock sound I've ever had on stage. But the volume, even with the master volume that it took for that thing to get a great sound, was unbearable for the people, for the sound guys. It was just so impractical. But it was cool at home. But again, even at home, it had to be crazy loud. And so I ended up selling it. I kind of miss it, but I don't miss having to have literally the walls in my studio shaking. This is an old house, so the walls shake easily, but the old Super Lead makes quick work of it. Anyways, what we have here today is the Lion. I've fallen for the hype, and I want to see if it's justified. Now, I do have where'd it go? Oh, here it is. I do have the Aux Stomp, and this one actually, sad day, was damaged in shipping, so I've actually got a replacement from Sweetwater showing up tomorrow, I believe, just in time for our show on Saturday. So shout out to them for a quick turnaround on that. But this thing, again, I fell for the hype, and it was 100% justified. I've got the Captor X and the Cab M, and I still have my Waza tube amp expander. They're all great. They all serve their purpose. I think the tube amp expander is probably the best of the bunch, but it's like having another amp on stage, and actually working with it in the software it's a pain in the butt. So anyways, I ended up getting the Aux Stomp because I wanted a really good cabinet simulator to use with the Iridium or any other amp that I want to use running DI. And it's an awesome product. Now, I do have some problems with the Bluetooth connectivity, but aside from that, the actual sound I get from the unit is crazy good and absolutely lives up to the hype. So I want to see if the Lion does as well. I miss the old Super Lead, and I was never able to really get that great of a recorded sound from it. It always sounded just like awesome in the room, but it was so hard to capture that just raw aggression. Then the way that it's like a drill in your like your skull, the way that the sound hits you. The Nitro is loud in a kind of that deep gut punch kind of way. The Super Lead was a different kind of loud that just hurt your head. And if you've ever been in a room with a cranked non-master volume Marshall, then you sort of know what that sensation is like. And you can't really reproduce that in recordings. You can reproduce the sound and kind of like that squishy, chunky lower mid-range that they've got when the power section is really juiced up, but I've never really been able to capture the actual sound of like that inner skull sound. I don't know how to describe it. It's a very complex loudness. But anyways, I'm just curious, what does this guy sound like? And based on quite a few, almost all the YouTube videos that I've seen of this thing, they all sound really good. They all sound different, but I think that, if you go and look on YouTube for Marshall Super Lead, and you look up 10 different videos, you're going to hear 10 different sounding amplifiers. So, kind of makes sense, but okay, let's get this thing hooked up. Again, no cuts or anything, no cheating here. This is me hearing it for the first time. I've got the old DC brick here. Now let me go grab the Schecter. Again, I have not heard this thing yet. I didn't get a chance to plug it in at the store, so It could sound like total garbage for all I know. Now, knowing Seymour Duncan and Mark, it's probably not going to sound like garbage. But I'm prepared for anything at this point. I do have it on good authority from a couple of friends that I trust with gear recommendations that at least the Alpha is a great pickup. Okay. So let me get the recording going here, and the audio that you're going to hear is pretty much just going to be all DI. All right, let's see here. All right, tuned up. I'll start cranking. Now, I assume if you've watched other videos, you kind of know how the controls and everything on this works. But if you're not familiar with the old Super Leads, you kind of had two channels, or rather two volumes, and one volume both increases the actual volume output of the amp, but it also increases the gain, so you get volume and gain at the same time. Volume 1 was a brighter, more treble-focused gain, if you will, and Volume 2 was more low-end focus, so it was kind of like your more thicker sound. And you could increase or decrease either of those to, to taste to exactly how much bite you wanted and how much kind of fullness in the low end that you wanted. But the problem that I had with it was that where I liked these settings on the amp was either just crazy loud, or if I wanted to back something down and hit it with a gain pedal to get a lot of gain out of the amp with the pedal, I couldn't get the amp loud enough for stage use. So there was a huge gulf in the volume between these two different types of settings that I wanted. So the master volume, the post-phase inverter master volume mod kind of solved that problem. So you could get all your gain exactly how you wanted it, and then just, put the master volume where you wanted the actual output of the amp to be. So it looks like that's what we have here, and I really like that. So anyways, let's I'm just going to start with the volume 2 a little bit backed off. Volume 1 a little bit up high. Actually, let's turn the pedal on. That would help. I just realized that, it's completely bypassed. Actually, let me put both of them back at noon. Okay. Needs to bite some more, so I'm going to go ahead. So also the way that I dialed in the old Marshall was I would set volume 1 and 2 how I wanted the overall sort of vibe to be with the brightness and the darkness of the kind of the general sound. And then I would tweak the EQ to sort of fill in the gaps with how I wanted the sound to be shaped, because the EQ really didn't do a whole lot. Change to a different cab. I like the room sound that I'm getting. There's a little bit of room. Let's see. I like that even more. Okay, let's leave that there. Let's boost the presence a little bit. Change speakers. And this must be bypass. So I do want to listen to it through the aux stomp, just for the extra flexibility of having reverb, delay, and the ability to run one output with the cab sim and the other output just a straight DI signal if I do want to run it into power amp or something like that, into a real guitar cabinet. So that extra flexibility is going to be really cool. But for right now, let's just stick with the Lion itself. Leave that off for now. I do want to hear this thing with the Golden Boy and the Klon. I think that might be pretty awesome. One thing I am noticing is that the volume 1 on this pedal doesn't bite as hard as increasing the volume 1 on my amp did. Like, that would be, it would have been way brighter on my amp. But again, my amp versus whatever reference amp. Now, it could just be because this is a super bass and not a super lead, which mine was. Let's get back into the amp settings, presence, get that. The mid-range on my super lead added more brightness. It added more treble and like a little bit more kick in the upper end. I kind of hear it a little bit. Something darkened up right there when I turned it back down. Nice that it actually does what my old super lead used to do with that. Treble. super lead, I basically just ran everything at 10, like OG style. Let's put presence. So right there, when I decreased volume 1 to increased volume 2, it seems like it brightened up, which I wasn't expecting. I'm gonna watch my levels here and make sure I don't peak on the DI signal. Bass adds more bottom end and more thickness than the super lead had for me. The bass really didn't do a whole bunch of anything on my amp, but it did just enough that, again, I focused on volume 2 for the low end fullness and fatness rather than the bass knob. So actually, I'll tell you what, let's play. Side note, neck pickup sounds way better now. I mean, the bridge pickup sounded pretty good before. This one, again, sounds great. But the neck pickup's got... I haven't replaced it yet, but I've got a 3-way toggle knob like the Charvel has now, which I greatly prefer. None of that 5-way switch, pickup flipping shenanigans and coil splitting and phase and inverting and whatever. Just a good old 3-way switch. I like a Les Paul. Let's see here. Let's go to the super lead. Demos I've heard for this sound pretty spicy. That sounds a lot more familiar. Like the something in the mid range is a lot more. It's a little bit more forward pronounced, and the bottom end has kind of been sucked out. Switch over to the greenback, or the 30 watt Celestion. I found that, especially when cycling through endless impulse responses, but also more importantly, when picking a really good sounding cabinet in the aux stomp box, I do a ton of EQing based on what that cabinet sounds like. So, given how cabinets and speakers are kind of the majority of your sound, it doesn't really surprise me that much that starting at the cabinet and then working through the actual amp settings or the amp type, then the amp settings, seems like a pretty decent workflow for this unit. Let's jack the treble up. I think it's already up. Something weird happens there. Something kind of falls apart. It's starting to get into that territory where, again, with my Super Lead, once the amp is really, really pushed hard, all hell starts breaking loose with the structure. But everything still somehow weirdly works and just sounds great. And I've started to hear that just moving the treble knob from 3 o'clock all the way up. See, something in the upper, really high upper mid-range register sort of got like weirdly distorted. I think I kind of prefer it right there on the edge, right before it happens. Let's pull that back. That's a solid tone right there. That top end bite that I told you that the Super Bass didn't have, when the volume 1 is cranked, that's it right there. Maybe just because this is the new expensive shiny, I might be overreacting a little bit with this next sentence, but to my ears, this sounds like what I wish I could get out of my amp mic'd up. I got a really good tone out of it with the Captor X a couple of times, but it was very temperamental. And when I mic'd it up, I could never get the kind of sound that I wanted out of the amp. It was really weird. And realistically, it's the only amp I've ever owned that I've never been able to get any sort of accuracy with the translation from what my ears heard in the room to what the microphones would hear coming out of the cabinet. I mean, listening out of the cabinet sounded amazing, but no amount of mic placement could capture what I wanted to hear the amp sound like, what my brain was telling me it should sound like based on what my ears was telling me it sounded like in the room. But this, that right there is dang near exactly what I was wanting to hear. Man, that's really good. It's got a really nice, sorry if I keep taking breaks from playing just to sort of, this is the live reaction. This right here is the real first time reaction. The lower mid-range, that fluffy, chewy growl, the compressed growl, but still clean and clear and crisp, it's got that. And that's the one thing with the old Marshalls that I think is what really defines their sound. It doesn't have that real strong, sharp percussive attack like the Nitro has, or like the Blue Guitar amp has. They're much more of a tighter, just more impactful punch. This one is a much softer, chewier. It's like that. It's got that chewiness. I really don't have a better word to describe it. That's kind of how it sounds to my ears. Let's boost this thing and just see what happens. starting to lose some crispness there. I don't know if I like it hit that hard with this particular boost. Tell you what. You see, it lost some presence there, and in my thinking back, dropping volume 2 never took presence away or never took brightness away. I don't know what that is. I'll probably have to read the manual on why that happens. Dropping the volume, it got really loud, but I'm assuming it's because the boost is on. What is the boost doing? Like, what's it trying to simulate? It literally dropped by more than half output. Like, it sounds good. Like, hang on. Now, my old amp with the volumes at this point, it still would be clean-ish. It would have a little bit of dirt to it. But I'm guessing this is like hitting a clean amp with a really hot drive pedal or a really hot clean boost where you're just slamming the front end so hard you get that massive volume spike. Okay, Brown. Go to the right speakers. I'm not sure how I feel about this one yet. It's okay. Let's try with a different cap. It's too dark. Boost. Just kill the boost for now. Presence all the way up. Treble all the way up. This is a tricky one. I really like the super lead just because it's a very familiar sound from what I was used to, but this brown sound, it might take a little tweaking to get just right. It's like that one has too much mid-range, kind of like that honk to it. Maybe the 3 extra cabs you get when you register this thing can help it out a little bit, but I'm not really feeling, I mean, maybe it just needs the exact right setting to be, you know, Eddie's sound. That's too much low end. Too soft of a sound. I like this 30 one, the GB30 setting. you can get a good sound out of it, just at least for now with my initial tweaking, not, you know, a Van Halen type sound. And I've heard a couple of guys on YouTube getting some crazy good, you know, old Van Halen sounds out of this pedal. But I haven't really dug into those videos to see if there's any info on the settings. But in terms of just getting a good sound out of it, yeah. Forgot about that. Let's mess with the room. Oh, the room. I wish you could. I wish the room weren't just a room. I wish it was sort of like a sweep from a room to kind of a plate to a hall type thing. Or I wish it had a reverb type in the app, kind of like how the Aux Stomp has. But it doesn't. You get the room unless you use one of the clean presets, which has kind of like a big plate sound, and then you can sort of like secretly build your own preset based off of that. But because I have the Aux Stomp and I'm going to be using the reverb in that, I don't have to worry about that. Jimmy Page used that much gain, right? I don't like it that dry. Okay. Well, I'm done playing around for now. I'm gonna dig into this a little bit more with Yacht Stomp. Go grab those extra 3 cabinets. But as you saw, even though it took a little bit of tweaking to find a good sound on the brown setting, it was there. All 3 of them sound good. I personally like the Super Lead the best, being honest. It behaves very similarly to how my Super Lead behaved. It'll be interesting to hear this thing with some different cabinets instead of the ones that are built in. Some different reverb than the one that's built in. And I will probably throw a jam track in here to start the video. So yeah, first impressions. Man, it sounds like a Marshall. I've tested and played quite a few other Marshall in a box type things, but this one I think is the real deal. It behaves and feels and sounds and has all those very specific little nuances that my Marshall and several other old Marshalls that I've played through have all had. And I feel like getting that stuff right must be unbelievably hard based off of the modelers that don't get it right. The Kemper profiles that I've tried dozens of Marshalls, even the paid ones, never really sounded right. They were always missing that complexity and the mess in the sound that makes these old Marshalls what they are. So anyways, I'll end the video for now, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me through this. Ooh, shoot, it's a long video. I appreciate you guys sticking with me through this fairly long video, but hopefully it's a good comprehensive first look, no surprises, really just what it's like figuring out one of these things for the first time. So anyways, I'll see you guys later. Y'all have a good one. Take care.